The Finest Hours. Or if you want to see it in 3D, then you're watching Horas Decisivas, the Brazilian edition, which contains just a 3D movie with no extras, unfortunately. Being based on a true story, this is the type of movie that you'd actually would want to dig in more and find out about the real story. On Disney Plus, there is an interview clip with some witnesses and relatives that is worthwhile. Now, this is really three movies, the crew on the sinking ship, the Coast Guard crew, and the fiancé. 3D-wise, the sinking ship is the more interesting part. Ships naturally make for a great stereo setting, tight quarters, lots of hallways, rigging and metal edges and boxes, just stuff to look at. One scene in particular, the stereo really brings to life. They are trying to maneuver a steel beam into place, but the ship's tossing back and forth, and being able to detect it floating loosely in the space of the room really helps to drive home the danger of the moment. This monster killer beam is swinging back and forth and is just hungry to smash some fingers or skulls. At any moment in the film, the crew are seen sloshing around and losing balance in the midst of all this metal. Something in the stereo really exposes how solid the steel is and how fragile and floppy people are in relation to it. Outside, we have some interesting shots of the waves hitting the rescue ship, some of which are really quite spectacular. Look at the detail in this shot in particular. It reminds me of a similar shot in Shang-Chi, actually, but I feel here it's actually a much better shot in this movie. I have to wonder how the conversion team tracks all those little droplets. It seems like it would be a nightmare shot to convert. However, out at sea, the stereo largely gets washed away. It's darkish and misty, and the big waves don't really have any stereo impact, unfortunately. However, at this point, I was so engaged in the movie that I didn't really care. This is a great movie that tells its story well. It's not a criticism that at a certain point that I forgot I was even watching a 3D movie. I stopped looking at the scenery, stopped caring about separation, and was just allowing myself to be taken along for the ride. And really, at the end of it all, that's what a movie is supposed to do. Back on shore, the parts with the fiancé were less flashy, but had some very pleasant stereo shots. There is a great little moment where the reflection in this window is nicely separated from the actress and from the background. And sticking with windows, I loved looking into the car windows as they drove. The snow frosts up on the outside and frames a picture of the interior. It is actually somewhat reminiscent of on the rescue ship, one of the windows breaks, and it kind of puts Chris Pine's face in a frame. And having that little frame, it really makes for a nice little effect when you're focused on his face, and it kind of looks like you're watching a living picture. Now, what does 3D add to a drama picture? And here, I feel what it does is it adds a sense of loneliness. Especially back on shore with the fiancé, the stereo separation emphasizes that the fiancé is alone, facing the prospect of being alone. And something about separation really helps show distance between people. It shows whether they're gathering together in groups or whether they're making a little space for someone who is not quite on the same team. And in this movie, that turns out to be a good thing. It wakes the fiancé up to realizing that there is a community that she is now a part of. Although the drama was out in the water, the community aspect I found a compelling addition. The moment of a line of cars driving to the shoreline was kind of touching. Everyone sort of finding a way to come together and share in not just celebratory experiences, but also hard, emotional experiences. Community, you miss it when it's gone.